How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. Well, welcome, my friends, to this week's Headcases. And today's guest is not only a personal friend, but he's, in my mind, one of the most balanced individuals when it comes to career, personal, and family life. He is a top editorial stylist, and he can be found on set styling for top consumer magazines such as Glamour, Cosmopolitan, Oprah Magazine, and Lucky. He's either shooting ad campaigns and lookbooks for cutting-edge designers, being the go-to artist at New York Fashion Week, or a hair lead in the bridal arena. His client lists are, let's be honest, a little too extensive to list here, but here are some of the designers that he works with: Chris Benz, Buckler, Armani Exchange, Michael Kors, Badgley Mishka, Betsy Johnson, and Carmen Mark Valvo, not to mention also with Kenneth Poole and the Christos Bridal Fashion Week. He facilitates the sold-out class Dressing the Bride at the Redken Exchange in New York City, and as a Redken International Artist, he facilitates classes throughout the world. I love entrepreneurship, and I love his business, Tearsheet, where he and his team train in the art of editorial styling. So let's get into this week's headcase, Giovanni Giuntoli. Giovanni, I can't tell you how excited I was when we finally got you to come onto the program here, because I think it's been so many years since you and I have actually had a chance to, hoist a glass and shoot some eternal BS in the back room together. So I wanted to welcome you to Headcases. It's great to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be able to catch up with you. And, you're always on my mind as a team member, a mentor, a friend, and I'm really glad that I can connect, share some time.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that, my friend, and just so when people listening or watching know what's going on, like we're both part of the same network with the manufacturer, and and it's you connect with some people, you make friends with other people, or acquaintances with other people, and you make lifetime friends with other people in that organization. And I have to say that Giovanni has always been one of those lifetime friends. And it's just like I have friends that I might not have seen for a long time, but the moment that you connect, you're always back at that same moment again. So great. It's great to have you on board. And I just like it's funny, all the stuff that we went through and all those, my dad always called it lies and stories, telling lies and stories. But of all the time we were on there, I don't know if I ever knew how you got into hair. Like what your got into hair story. Give us.
My got into hair story is really, some people have heard it, some people haven't. It was really a trip and fall though. It was all an accident, nothing by design, maybe greater design, but I don't have any family members into hair. My mother thought that she knew how to cut hair because her dad, whom I never met, my grandfather, thought that he could cut hair. So he did some barbering for friends. And my mom thought, oh, I can do this too. And in fact, even to today, my brother still is like, I don't know why you went into hair. I remember you being tormented when mom would cut your hair. But I went down a path, of summer jobs. Doing construction, doing landscaping, doing sales, and then falling into Baskin Robbins. And that's where I met the owner of the salon where I started. We spent about 30 minutes picking out flavors. And even just a backtrack, it was just so much kind of, I guess, fate that I would meet this gentleman that, when you're in Baskin Robbins, you take turns helping people. And it was this other person's time to help this individual. And they chose to not, because they wanted to judge the individual who was coming in. They said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to help this guy. And I said, I don't know why we're passing judgment. We're only selling ice cream here. So I'm going to go out and serve some ice cream. And that was the breaking point, the moment in my life of making the connection to somebody, really outside my circle, and becoming friends, working there in a salon as a summer job. We had to tell all the clients that I was going to be going to beauty school. So they were okay with that, and through that process really grew to love being able to connect with people, talk to people, get paid to do these things, found something enjoyable. It was right up there with serving ice cream as being an ice cream lover, being able to do hair and make these connections in the neighborhood and town that I was in and outside of that network. It was just, for me, it was like electrifying. It was so exciting to be able to go in and meet and connect so many people in so many facets of all these different industries that when I look back, had I chosen one industry or another, I wouldn't have met this vast amount of people that have come in and out of my life. So going back to your question, getting into the hair industry, was just really trip, fall, accident, and then deciding I really like this and let's give it a shot.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said, because sort of looking from the outside in, I think there's always people in our life that have, some people can influence us and some people can't.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that other worker served that person, that opportunity would have been lost.
Yeah.
I always feel that you're going to go into what you're going to go into regardless of the opportunity happens. There might be something else. But what I want to jump into is, what was it that drew you to that person?
I really think that at that moment, I didn't like, first of all, I didn't like this other coworker passing judgment on somebody for really book cover kind of things. Very outside, like nothing you can control, just BS kind of things. He drove a car that my mom, who had been passed for a few years, he drove the car that she loved. And to me, it was a little bit of a sign. But it was just, I guess, the demeanor that when he came in, I thought everybody deserves ice cream, kind of thing. And I just figured, this is somebody who's just coming in, and I wanted to do the opposite of what the other person was saying. And I just thought, I'm serving ice cream and nothing's beneath me to help out, and I'm there to do a job and serve, and that's what I did, without any kind of thoughts.
I love what you said there at the end. I think that's the key. If more people would catch that, is that the key, it wasn't about serving ice cream, it was serving, and if everybody learned how to do more of that just, we have humanity on one side and people in that humanity on the other side. And if you can just connect with them by taking them for what they're worth. And so, amazing that you did that. And I take my hat that I don't have on. I take that off too.
Which is rare. Which is rare. I was prepared to see a little cap and visor on you.
I'm trying to grow the old cheveux a bit, and it's driving me crazy. But anyway, besides that, I don't even know if the hat would fit anymore with all this stuff underneath. Now that we've got that kind of get that how you got into hair, but like give me the progression of so you got into the hair. What happened within that salon? There must have been something that was in that salon that made you want to jump in further. Because let's face it, right now you've got tear sheet, you're educating all over the world, you're doing hair and editorial work. There's something that happened in there, and I just wish for people to get into our business is if they can just understand what is it that they want to do. And I don't think you and I knew what we wanted to do. somehow it led us, but we were led in a path.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Was there anything interesting or intricate, I should say, that finally got you from behind the chair onto knowing that you could teach or just do hair and for other people for editorial work?
Well, so that's like a two-part question. So the first part, what got me excited about the industry, outside of the connection, was all the multifacets that are involved in our industry. You can work full-time behind a chair, you can educate, you can do editorial work, you can focus on bridal, you can freelance, you could rent a booth now, another facet that's out there. You could travel with celebrities. It was just one of those industries that for me was always offering a change or a challenge to me. And it always kept it fresh. Because what I did notice early in my career was, although don't get me wrong, I love being in a salon. I love the schedule. I love the regimen. I love serving people. And the basic truth of that. But what I found was, as I was booking my clients, 4 weeks out, 5 weeks out, to me, there was kind of a mental redundancy, seeing the person again. So when I had the opportunity to step on a photo shoot, that like ignited a whole nother flame inside of me to go, wow, what I'm doing in real life and what I see through the camera's eye, two different worlds. Yeah. Here's another world that I can explore and yet still be in the industry that I love and the foundations of it. So the doing the editorial, I started going in and doing multi-manufacturing shows and started just, I wanted to do classes. I wanted to teach. I liked being able to give back and give to the industry because I feel like I was one of the negative anomalies, never coming from a hair background, struggling. I didn't play with dolls. I don't have a sister. My mom didn't, my mom thought she did hair, but she wasn't around when I got into the industry. So what I learned was really through trial and error. And it was a lot more through error than trial, and breakthroughs, so I felt that I had something to share for those that were just like me. I'm struggling, or, hey, I know hair, but I want to do more. And I just felt that I can shed light on to all these other facets that are in our industry that we forget are really crucial to letting us do what we do in our industry. Fashion week, celebrity, those influences that eventually, back then it would be months. Now it's almost pretty much immediate that there's that influence from the runway or the September Vogue, and then all of a sudden it wouldn't be until January, February that maybe we would see those influences in there. And I just I just desired to be one of those influencers, being part of that aspect of doing it. And the other part was, a lot of people said in the industry that, you could work in a salon, that's the life, work in the salon. Very few people ever encouraged others to go and do editorial work. I never felt that those doing editorial work were ever open to taking anybody under their wing and opening the door and showing them, this is a way into doing editorial work. They were very protective. And so I just found that as a challenge. I heard nobody can do it easily. Like nobody can moving to New York. That's impossible. Very few people make it in New York. You're going to be a starving artist. Do celebrity work? Nobody gets into celebrity work. That's so hard to break into. Nobody gets an agent. And I just kept meeting those challenges and going, I can do that. I can do that. If other people can, I can do it. I've made it this far. I've grinded through. making mistakes, learning from those, crash and burns, all of those things, but getting back up and going, I can do it. I've made it to New York. Next is finding an agent. Got an agent. Next is landing a cover, landing a booking, landing a campaign, working with a celebrity, traveling with. And so I just kept meeting those things. But those were things that I really loved about the industry, is that there's so much more than just doing hair. There's so much more to be involved in.
Yeah. And there was, first of all, thank you for sharing that as well, because I heard you talk about trial and error. And I've seen it now. First of all, you have a way better head for doing editorial work than I do. But I do know competition work, and I do know, when it comes to trying to come up with a trend that's different. And that's where I think that sometimes people in the hair industry itself tend to look at trend as opposed to, and I'm making stuff up here, but you talked about trial and error. And I think that the way I pictured in my brain is like a triangle. At one point you got trial, other end you got error, but then there's something that you've got to get in between there. And I haven't put the right word in my brain yet, but what the word that always comes to my brain when I'm thinking about somebody that's coming up with something unique or different, and is taste. And I think that sometimes people will I've seen hairdressers just try to do something that is just so off the wall for the sake of being different, for the sake of being, excuse me, unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe I used air quotes there. I really did, for anybody listening.
But we didn't understand that.
Yes. But it's also about, are you making the look that you're creating, is it tasteful?
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately that's the consumer that's got to look at this and identify it with. And just to give you an example, and I'm going to try and describe it. You could probably describe it better than I can because it was your work. I saw you do this one look where it was just this girl had, her hair was just all combed down. I mean, it's not just all combed down. Duh. I'm sure that you did this in 15 seconds. But the hair was down and it was over across of her face. And then I don't think you were choking her, but I think that it was tied around the bottom. And it was so interesting to look at because even at first blush, I had to look at, was that her face? What was it? And then once you saw that it was her face, then I went, oh, that's really cool. But it's not like the hair was curled. It wasn't like it was an extreme off the wall color. It was just that the uniqueness and the taste that was putting into how do you create something different that a designer is going to want that is unique and sets off their work. So just that, and I realize we're just having thoughts here. What
Mm-hmm.
throws into your brain on that?
A lot of it is, working with the team. And I know what photo you're talking about. And the photographer was a woman called Hyuna Shin. And she was always one photographer that pushed, it's, always open to it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be ugly. Let's just see it. Let's try it, and evolving with it. Photography is smoke and mirrors. I say that in my education. It's a whole different world than the salon, because in the salon, I feel it's so much harder. We have to do a look that's 360. We show them the side, we show them the back, we show them the front. Where in photography, whatever I want you to see is what I'm going to show you. And that's it. There's no flipping the mirror, flipping the page and seeing the other side. So it's very two-dimensional. And like I said, a lot of smoke and mirrors and lies. But with the team, there's that team where I don't feel like in the salon we have sometimes. We don't have somebody that we're working with. We're not working with a makeup artist. We're not working with a photographer or a model that, we're all coming together and collaborating into finding something that's cohesive. And I think you brought up a good point. Your understanding is vastly greater than mine with the competition hair. I opted to go out of the not even go into the competition hair, because I found that I understood my weakness. And to me, that's a strength for everybody to understand your weakness. It's not a weakness, it's a strength understanding. My strength or weakness was competition hair. For me, I felt that I was always competing anyways by working with the team. And I didn't have the eye or that avant-garde growing of different hair and the shapes and all of that. Mine were tending to be more flattering, a little more consumer, maybe not that one look where she's getting choked out by her own hair, but, not so consumer friendly. But, working with that team that kept inspiring you to say, let's try it, let's push it, let's try something different, and how is this image tying in with the wardrobe and telling the story that we're trying to tell?
Yeah. And so tell me obviously you must have worked with many different designers on many different shoots. So tell me a little bit about the pros and the cons. Like when you're getting into shooting, you're shooting hair for the shoot. Tell me a little bit about what's that experience like? Like if somebody's saying right now, look at I watched Giovanni for years. I want to do what he does because I know you, and I want to talk about Tear Sheet just in a short bit. But you helped train people do that. But there's got to be, you've got to know there's ups and downs inside editorial shooting. What would you say is the best day? Like if you're shooting an editorial shoot, and this one you go, oh my God, I could. This would be a hang up. I mean, a hang up as in I'd want to stop my career. This was the best shoot I've ever been on. I could call it quits on this one. So what would that one look like?
That would look like, as far as the day, like I think as a hairstylist, like, boy, you feel like you can just touch that hair and you could do no wrong. Just, people are like, oh, that's gorgeous. Oh my, how did you do it?
Yeah.
But then out of every 10, and I share this with people, man, I can get on a roll where it's like shoot after shoot or client, and I do perfect. And you're like, oh, I got this industry down pat. Yeah. I got it locked down. And then that one model walks in, or that one editor, or some, and all of a sudden you're like, well, why did I get into this industry?
Yeah.
What was it that drew me into this industry again? And even in the salon, why did I get up out of bed today? Or why did I offer that client that one service again when I just knew I'm just so bad at it, kind of thing. We have ups and downs. Up days are beautiful model, beautiful hair, healthy, simple hair that is timeless. It could be in color. It could be in black and white. It can work with anything. The profile, beautiful. Like the perfect client that talks just enough, listens just enough, goes, what should I buy today as far as product? I get that, it's that hum, but we have to understand our weakness, and we have to have those bad days, because that way we can appreciate all those great days that we have, because I guarantee I have far, far more great experiences in the industry than bad, and some of those bads are really humbling, and I've been on those shoots where you just can't point the finger at just one thing. It's just nothing aligned, getting there on time, the model's hair quality, your brush skills, just those things that you just go, wow, that really is not great. And you struggle through it. And I've been on shoots where the team wasn't happy, and so the whole editor just scrapped the whole shoot, everything, and immediately you go, what did I do wrong? Right. Like, oh my God, it was so bad, and you learn from it, and you look back and you go, okay, just things weren't meant to be, and so how do I make it better for the next time? And maybe it wasn't just me, maybe it was me, but we're all going to have those days, and I've learned from a lot of those, because majority of my journey in my career have been uphill battles and challenges, because again, nothing for me really came natural. Even my eye, my taste, my understanding of balance and symmetry, that was all learned stuff. And with learning, there come mistakes and there come challenges. And so I'm not your average hairstylist. I'll be real honest with that. I don't geek out on hair. Like, I love it for the industry. I love it for what it is, but it's always been a love challenge kind of thing for me, because I love challenges. And so I don't mind when that comes my way. But it's always been a little bit of an uphill battle for me. So when I have great days, I really appreciate them. And when I have bad, I go, okay.
All right. Yeah. And I think what you hit on was a really good point there, is that not every day is like 100% day. So when you have a couple of off days, you just got to, instead of beating yourself up, just sort of move on. And I'm calling the kettle black here, because I'll make sure that I always have more blame on anything that didn't go right than on the ones that did go good. But what I loved that you said was that, is that some days you're there, and if you know that it's not there, it's just not working right. I can remember, I think I was in the Condé Nast building doing a shoot for a magazine, and they booked me in, and they said, we're shooting for the cover. And I had just done Fashion Week, and there was one look that we did, and they said, well, that's the look that we want to do. And so that's the look. And they said, they said, it's great, love it. And I got in front of the camera and they went, oh, well, but it's a profile shot. And I went, yeah, and they said, well, there's a cover, so it has to be done from the front. And I said, well, they said, well, can you make the front like bigger? And just being the true rookie at it, that I went and I said, well, that's going to make it look silly in the back. So to your point, that it doesn't matter what's happening in the back, it's a cover shot. They only want one picture.
Right.
So we kind of fudged our way through. They never asked me to do anything ever again. But I think the lesson that I learned along that way is that when somebody else is their magazine, that designer, that whatever, you're not the owner of the hair. You're the messenger. They're creating a message. You have the skill to do it. And whatever they want to do, you do it. And if you have to, widen your branch to whatever you feel that you need to do. In other words, they say more hair on the top, no problem. I'll give you more hair on the top. And I think that's what people have to think about in there. It's not the biggest lesson I learned that day. It wasn't my shoot. It was their shoot. And I was just the hairdresser that was doing the hair that they wanted for that shoot.
Right. Exactly. And to that point, different and yet the same as a salon. You're there to serve one person. It's their opinion. Same with on a shoot. Everybody's got an opinion and everybody's got an a-hole.
Yeah, everybody knows what
to listen to it from. But with a team from a shoot, you're right. You're there, and it's kind of like putting somebody's conceptual idea, to real life, and telling the story, and listen, I've learned, because I've been on those shoots where I felt that I was doing the hair, and the hair is the hair, and the makeup is the makeup, and the photographer is going to do his photos, and the wardrobe's going to do it. We have 4 different aspects of the photo shoot, and then you have the model. But I didn't understand in the beginning that it had to be cohesive. It had to, everyone had to be on the same story, telling the same story, and having that one look that we all were getting. Because I look back, and I have my archives from my first photo shoot. And I go back and I look through it sometimes and I go, boy, I have come a long way. Oh man, it has been a long way. Just wow. What was I doing back then?
Yeah, I
What
always love
did
those.
people see in my hair? Were they just out of other hairstylists and they just had me come in because I don't know what happened. But it's you're right. It is there to create their story, and everybody in that instance has a boss. And so remembering that they're my boss and they have a boss and they have to submit the idea up and up and up. And hopefully as that journey of that image goes up, everybody keeps liking it and supporting it. And if they don't, then don't take it personally. Just go back and change it.
Exactly. Otherwise, you can be like Giovanni and get rehired, or you can be like Chris Baran and never get hired by that company again.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And it's true. It's a great lesson. I want to take you back now because you've obviously have learned tons over the years. So now you have, and I see it, you have on your shirt is Tear Sheet. Tell us a little bit about it, because you started Tear Sheet quite a number of years ago. Tell us what was the mission of Tear Sheet? Why did you want to start that company?
Well, here comes some transparency that some people may not want to hear, but for you, Chris, I'll be as clear as possible. Okay. So I was working for another brand when I moved to New York. And after I'd moved to New York, that brand was bought out by a larger company. And having just a handshake deal with that brand, once the larger company came in and it went really big corporate kind of thing, so many artists were then displaced and let go. And many that I stay in touch with today and many that we have on our team together, as educators. At that moment, I told myself that I didn't want to rely on anybody else, just like when I moved to New York, I didn't want somebody else to help pay for things. I wanted to do it on my own, and no matter how hard it was. And so I found that as I was educating, stylists were really interested in, how do I break into doing editorial? What is it? What are some aspects about? Will you share with me? People would go, oh, I've tried to research it. Nobody will tell me how to get into it. What's in it? And so anyways, I found this trending request about this type of education and getting into doing editorial work and the importance of it. I found that for me, it was about having my finger on the pulse of fashion and trends versus being a follower. And I just felt that, hey, if I can do it with very little to no experience, then I know that there's so many other hairstylists that could. And so around that time, there was the magician. I don't know if you remember the masked magician that was revealing all of these huge tricks, illusions that these other master illusionists were doing. And they were making it, they were putting it out to the public on major TV. And some people were really upset about it. And I saw it as what an amazing opportunity to see this, and therefore I go, there's enough work out there for everyone. There's enough editorial, celebrities, rock band, education. There's enough work for everybody, professional-wise, to go and do it. And I was at the point in my career where I was successful. I wasn't worried about helping somebody, in a workshop of 3 days. I wasn't worried about them all of a sudden taking my agent away and taking all this work away from me. There was years of honing and practicing and going through. And I just felt that I could help people understand it better. It was the way we were communicating. And then around 2 to 3 years after it started, the internet started becoming bigger. People sharing imagery. Now all of a sudden, music isn't the worldwide language. The internet and imagery is how we're now communicating, showing somebody this is what I like or what I don't like, a shade of red, a shade of blonde. We always talk about educating to the blind. How do we educate somebody who can't see what we're showing them? And all of a sudden imagery was the insight that a lot of us were needing to have a better way of communicating with our clients. And what better way to support our industry than to help us communicate with the consumer who is bringing in a tear sheet, who's bringing in a magazine, a ripped out page, and going, make my hair look like this, or make me look like this. And I'll tell you, before I got into the industry, I would literally take those images and try to recreate that imagery on the person, not understanding that there is absolutely no chance in hell that I'm going to duplicate that look on that client. And so I just felt that getting into the industry and sharing, doing editorial and bringing in tear sheet was something that helped hairstylists be better hairstylists, and have a simpler and happier, easier journey from consultation to finish, because they understand the way that the client is communicating through imagery and how they can deliver it. And then next was me sharing with them that it's okay to say no, because you have to understand that a lot of the imagery your clients are bringing in, again, are smoke and mirrors. The things I'm doing are lying to the clients to sell something, and then they're bringing it in saying, make it reality. And it's like, well, now we have to understand that we're not going to be able to make it reality, because you're not only going to see the front of their face. There's going to be clips. There's going to be extensions. There's going to be forms. There's going to be wind. She's not always going to be walking into the wind. So there's an important understanding to share with your client, because I feel like we're always yesing things. Even before a client finishes the request. Can you make my hair? Yes, I can do that. And then we go back and we go, what did I just promise that client? How do I do this? What can I do for it? So I just felt that bringing tear sheet into the industry and bringing the education of editorial work into the industry was something that was needed. Light needed to be shed upon it. It wasn't to take any work away from, the Guidos of the world and these other amazing hairstylists. It was just to help us as hairstylists understand what goes into those photo shoots, the caliber of work, but also what comes out of it is a client that may not understand the hair that they're looking at and requesting. And us as professionals, we need to understand how to tweak it and make it that client, make it that client's hairstyle and how it complements them, versus where I was just doing hair to do hair. I needed to learn how to do hair for the client that's wearing it.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple of things that came to my brain, and right in there was how you were talking about imagery. And I know that I don't have to go deep into this right now, because I know that anybody who's in hair now knows the difference of what it was before the internet was out there. That the way they shopped for hairdressers was they would go and they would find out who's doing what hair. I think I like your hair, so I'll go and I'll sit in your chair and see if you can help me. But now what people are doing is they'll know, okay, Gio did my hair. Okay, well, I'm going to go. I love your hair. I'm going to go and suss out Gio on the internet, and I'm going to see the work that he does. And if his work is the work that I like and I want, then I'm the much greater chance that I'm going to go and see Gio than if I go to, Chris did my hair and I like your hair, but I go and see what Chris is doing, and Chris is doing work that has absolutely nothing to do with what I like or want or my taste. And so people are shopping for hairdressers now. They're not doing it by coming to your salon. That's why it's so important. We understand that the imagery that you're putting out there is the future of what you're going to be attracting into your salon.
Yeah. I mean, the walk-in client is really non-existent. I feel,
Yeah.
anymore, unless they're an older client that doesn't have social media, which, we still have people that are not on social media. God, so lucky. But people just don't walk by and say, I'm in a mood for like a $500 balayage service.
Yes.
Maybe I'll go get a big change in my hair. I'll just walk into this strange salon because it looks nice. People are researching, looking at imagery, seeing if you, like you said, see if you have an understanding or maybe a connection with something they like. And that imagery talks a lot about your brand.
This episode is sponsored by the Salon Associate Accelerator from trainersplaybook.com. Are you struggling with the time and cost of associate training? Do you feel like your salon is running you? We'll get your associates on the floor, all with 90% less time from you, so you can get back to building your business. Get them world-class design, finishing, color, and client care skills they'll use every day for the rest of their career, while you focus on realizing your vision. Go to trainersplaybook.com and get the Salon Associate Accelerator. And now, back to the show. How does what people, let's face it, so somebody wants to go, like, let's say I'm not necessarily interested in getting into editorial, but I would like to have more success in the hair that I'm doing in the salon and publishing on the internet or having on the walls in the salon. What is it like if they came to Tear Sheet and they took the class? Like, give us kind of the run. What does a typical class go like? And is it always set up? Can I take the stuff that I have and that I learned there? And is this just editorial stuff, or is this foundational stuff that I can use elsewhere as well?
Got it. Okay, that's a great question, because it's a question that I think from day one, people always asked, is this something that I don't want to do editorial work? So would this class be good for me? And the answer is yes. In our industry, even in the students that have come through the workshop, 5%, maybe 10% of those hairstylists do editorial work. And majority of them still are 95% in the salon, not living really as a true editorial hairstylist. To learn hair for photos is really learning how to do hair for your client, because you have an understanding of what went into making that imagery. What does that team look like? Being able to have a more professional and better educated conversation coming from a place of professionalism to your client, why they're there, why they seeked you out, why they're sitting in your chair. Clients don't want you to just yes them all the time. I'm sure a percentage are there to just have you yes, I'll do it. But I think a lot of clients nowadays, especially, really understand the value of an educated hairstylist that will tell them, no, I cannot do that with your hair for whatever reason, length, texture, health, whatever it is. But to be able to look at a photo and say, this is a beautiful photo and beautiful hair. Your hair is not the same as this. And let me tell you why. Let me explain to you about this imagery and why you're going to see different qualities and things in your hair than you see in this image. Lighting, color dimension, haircut, etc. So I say that majority of the students that have come through our workshops, although love having imagery to put up and show on their social media, also I feel it's great for their channel to show behind the scenes salon work, and then leveling up the work to what our consumers are used to seeing. Like, I think consumers nowadays, as we all can understand the difference between professional quality shoot and maybe iPhone shoot or grabbing some things behind the scenes. So the education is, depending on the workshop, we range from how to capture the image in the salon using your phone working with a non-professional model, ranging
Right.
to working with a professional model, professional makeup and photographer. So we cover the realm, but the basic is understanding the imagery, the collaboration, the creation of, and then how to recreate and make it reality to the clientele. So
Yeah.
no, you don't have to want to go into editorial work. You could work in the salon day in and day out, but adding the imagery and adding that understanding just, again, levels you up in a client's eye, because that's another facet under your belt. Just like a doctor, they go in, they specialize, they go further and further. Now all of a sudden you're like, wow, they have 6, 7 diplomas up here.
Mm-hmm.
They're really well versed. They've really dove into this understanding. I'm going to ask them, well, what do you think, doctor? What do you think, hairstylist? This is what I've come with. But according to your social media and all the things that you've done on this wall, it looks like you have a broader understanding of what I'm here with and what to work with than maybe what I've come to just say, this is what I want.
Yeah. And I love that. And I can't remember if it was you that said this, but I remembered watching, and I think it was you, but it was somebody said in this picture, here's all the volume on the side. This is the amount of volume that I want in my hair. And they said, well, we can do that. Absolutely. And they said, oh, good. But he says, I want you to understand this, is that I have to take all the hair and I've got to take clips and I have to put them just behind in here. So you'll have a really good look coming from the front, but everybody's going to see that three-dimensionally, it's going to look like caca from behind, because that in that photo, they took all the hair from behind and that's what gave them the volume on the side, and it's not natural. So we can do that, but I'm sure that you don't necessarily want me to do it in that way.
And that's why I say, the understanding of that imagery and what went in it makes our life a lot easier, because I didn't understand updos when I first started in the industry. I literally ran to the back room, quickly walked, because I didn't want to draw attention to myself, quickly walked to the back room when I would hear somebody was there for special event, hey, an updo, a wedding, like, please do not even look in my direction. And so that was a struggle. People would bring in photos and I would try to just shotgun pins into something that I just saw no pins in these updos. And I just didn't understand that, oh my God, like, you're only seeing, again, what somebody wants you to see. You're only hearing the story that somebody wants to tell you. You're not seeing the other side, the dark side of hair. But as a salon hairstylist, I kept trying to make the dark side work and be livable and realistic. And in imagery, it's not, So I feel that us hairstylists that are behind the chair, we have a harder road ahead of us to please somebody, to make them look great all the way around versus just in one direction, one aspect.
Yeah, I love it. Where did you get, where did all of a sudden you went, right? Don't throw any of that stuff near me because it terrifies me. But now you're amazing at it. So who were the people? What was the links? What had to happen that took you from running to the back room to we're totally confident at it now?
When I was working for can we mention other brands here?
Of course.
When I was working with Wella, I had moved from Chicago to New York while still working with them. And I had the opportunity to travel to London to work with Patrick Cameron, who is still a friend to this day. And for those of you who know Patrick Cameron and seeing him on stage, it was awe-inspiring to me, especially for somebody who was just the complete 180 to what he was doing. I was doing magic in the towel room. He was doing magic in the hair. Learning the foundations that he shared with me during these, it was like a week-long workshop with him. And it was a small workshop. And that was something that I really loved and brought into Tear Sheet, was we had no more than 10 people. So we had plenty of real one-on-one, 1-to-3 small ratio education that for somebody like myself, I really gravitated to because I needed that help and understanding. But understanding the foundations that he shared with me, again, he just broke it down, and that's what I took. Like, don't look at it as a whole. Look at it as like Legos, components. These components then make up the whole. And if we can understand what the components are that make the whole, then that's what we're going to do. Bite-sized pieces that, again, then eventually you eat slice by slice, you eat a whole pizza afterwards, and an updo, it's the same. From blow dry prep to a foundation to then building on that, et cetera, et cetera. In the beginning, I just figured somebody turned their head upside down. They pumped in some 3-4 pounds of pins and put their head up, and it was beautiful. And that was my struggle. I was working from the outside in, whereas what I learned was understanding from the inside, working the way out. And that's what really turned my corner into going, wow, I'm going to start looking at hair completely different. And it took my editorial then to the next level because I was able to build shapes up versus just working with hair down, And so that was a big change for me because it opened up the whole bridal market to me, and black tie and celebrity, et cetera, because they were going to these events that they wanted half up, half down, all up. Nobody wanted hair down, and so that opened up a whole nother book of business for me. Yeah.
So the one that you hit on that's coming to my brain right now is being a hair cutter. I tend to always blew hair dry the way that I always blew it dry. In other words, does it have a side part? Does it have a center part? Does it have whatever it has? And then you start at the bottom and you work from the top, and everything's down and blah 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 blah. Beautiful and a sheen on the hair, etc. And I remember going to assisting at a shoot, and come on, Gray. What's his first name?
Peter Gray.
Peter Gray. Peter Gray was there, and he was showing us because the hair was going up in ponytails, and so I went, I can blow dry the hair down and push it all back. And he put all this time and energy into blowing the hair dry off of the face, and I remember being astounded because at the end of it, he only took, I think, 3 or 4 strokes of the brush, putting the hair into his hand, and put a ponytail on it, and all the hair was perfect. It was just, and I find that as hairdressers, we have the favorite brush, the favorite blow dry technique, the favorite iron, and we tend to use those all the time because we're really good at those.
Right.
But they're really good. Those things are always really good at one thing. Right. But to get different effects, you've got to learn different. And that's why I would highly suggest that if people want to learn that, if you're out there and you're listening and watching right now, you need to take advantage of, well, not maybe take advantage of you, but take advantage of your class and take that class, etc. So
I think what you said, though, with that, again, you were doing hair for the salon, for the client, and there's such simple things that we do for the photo set, for the runway, etc., that, again, translate and impact our life in the salon. Now, listen, I'm a licensed hairstylist where a lot of freelancers are not. So they can't go into a salon, and therefore I love that I have that ability to serve clients in the salon as well. And I'm always finding that I'm tying in that understanding of hair with, like you said, even just blow drying. Where are we ending up with this hair? Well, then I'm going to blow dry the hair to go in that end result versus a pretty down look and then try to struggle with then pulling it up.
I can't figure out why the front looks like it's bad. You had your hands on the science fair static ball.
Right, right. And that was my beginning in my career, was beautiful down, blow dry, and then going, why are there so many bumps? Why is this party? Why can't I get rid of it? Well, again, I told the hair to do one thing when I really wanted it to do another thing
something
after.
else. Yeah. And I would be remiss because before we started, I was asking of you about your background. Mm-hmm. And I would, so tell me, I'd love you to, for the listeners and the people watching, and just so that if you're listening, the background that he is on right now is just a really intricate background with, I can't describe everything, but imagine a forest green kind of frame around a picture, and inside it is kind of a maroon, and then it's got these beige tones in this amazing pattern on the inside of it. I haven't done it justice at all, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight into what we're looking at if you're listening. Tell me the story behind that, where that came from, and why is that there?
So this came as a gift to me from a designer that I worked with, and the designer was Gianni Versace. And I was working in New York City, just down the street from where they had put their flagship boutique on Fifth Avenue. When they were open, I mean, if you've been to New York and you've seen it, it is just a beautiful store. And the day they opened that door, I walked down the block and I introduced myself to the manager, to the salespeople, and I said, I want to work with your team. We have a salon down the block. Send your team in, because I figured, the clientele that are going in to buy from there is the clientele audience that I want in the salon to come to me as well. They have the price point. They like that designer. They understand the value. And so for, I think the first year that they were open, I was grooming and cutting their male and female staff, and became friendly with the manager there. His name was Nunzio. The manager there for that salon or that boutique would also travel the world opening up other locations and was Johnny's right-hand guy. During their Christmas party was not your ordinary Christmas party. It was red carpet. It was a red carpet, celebrity, it was just their launch and it was amazing. And I got an invitation, from the manager. And so I got to do staff's hair for it, but then got the invitation to dress up and go and sit and meet and talk to Mr. Versace, with the blessing of the manager of saying, this gentleman, Giovanni, does all of our grooming and all of the team's hair and has been here, and so on and so forth. So had a few moments to sit with Mr. Versace and chat about hair, about fashion, about just life kind of things. And 1 or 2 weeks after, the manager had come and said, come to the boutique. We have a Christmas gift for you. And so I went to the store, and the manager and a few of the head team members had wrapped a package, and in that box was this swatch of material that I remember the manager showing me all of these pieces hanging, and this one standing out to me and saying, wow, this is a beautiful, material. I love the colors. I love the intensity. And so this is like a swatch of material that they use to make their big throw pillows and everything. And it just really stood out to me that, again, it came from a place of love and appreciation of what we all do, as far as serving the industry and making that connection. And so a good friend of mine had actually framed it for me because I had kept it folded to take care of it, but I never had a place to really show it off. And so a friend of mine got it framed and mounted for me. And ever since then, I've been always enjoying seeing it, and noticing little intricacies that I didn't always notice in the beginning, but it always was bright enough and cheerful enough and impactful enough to put a smile on my face.
Love it. And I know that, thank you for that. I just thought that story was so amazing when we talked about it. I wanted everybody else to hear it as well. And I know probably tonight I'm going to have a nightmare where Gianni Versace is going to come down and be in my dream
Yeah.
and talking to me about the displeasure that he has for for the way I described his work. Anyway, Giovanni, it's time for what I always call a rapid fire.
Okay.
And so just quick stuff, whatever comes to your brain. In the creative process, what turns you on in that process?
The ability to have no bounds with the creativity.
Nice.
You know, knowing that we're there to just be creative and there are no mistakes and no wrongdoings in a process of creativity.
Love it. And what stifles it?
That there could be no wrong, nothing wrong with the creativity. It's a blessing and a curse. I feel like creativity can be like a Chinese menu. So many options that it's hard to narrow it down to one. And therefore, you choose the comfort zone. And I always go, boy, that comfort zone, I keep choosing it, forcing myself to choose something different in that menu. So sometimes the win is all the options and the negative is too many options.
Right. The thing in life that you dislike the most?
Pessimism, negativity, passing judgment on somebody. I was never attracted to that. And I've always liked seeing a different perspective than what a lot of people or a lot of people have, just having a different perspective.
Yeah. And my next question, but I think you answered it already, what you love the most is obviously about perspective. Most difficult time in your life?
Well, losing a parent is always, are we talking life or industry?
Just for you.
In both, it's probably both. For me, it's both. My mom was really, really an integral part of my education. She passed when I was going to be turning 15 years old. So she didn't get a chance to see any of what I've been doing or anything like that. And to her last knowledge when she was alive, I was on the path of going to college,
Right.
And it was my dad and changing our relationship that really was crucial in me getting into the industry, him being open to me going into the industry and super supportive. And so then my second downer was losing my dad, because at that moment I felt like I was breaking through, having him travel to some of the events and all of those things. So, losing him after rebuilding that relationship kind of thing was really tough on me. And it's something that, for me, the good thing that came out of that, and I don't think I've ever had a chance to share it with you, Chris, is what's come out of that is my connection with you because of the time that you and I shared in Vegas when I got that news dropped on me, and you helping me get through that and make some decisions different than the decisions that I was prepared to make. Like, the show must go on stage, go and speak. And you were there to kind of say, maybe not this time around, and so I appreciate that, of course. But those are my two big downers in life.
Yeah. Wow. And what is it that, so now what do you, tell me what you really like about it. What do you like most about our industry?
The facets of the industry. I love traveling. I love doing hair in every part of the world, and my dad said it best. He said, geez, you're learning a trade. And that was something I struggled with, was understanding. I wasn't going to college. I was going to a trade school, and you can do this trade anywhere there's hair.
Yeah.
And for me, that was just wonderful for me, because I think traveling is like time travel, going to see different people, going to see different places. And so all the facets and being able to be exposed and exposing my skill set now to others, but to see and meet so many people that and still do hair is just for me an amazing um, element of our industry that I just love.
Yeah. I think that's anytime that I talk to people in our industry, it's the hook that we have that nobody else understands. And I think you put it really well. Proudest moment of your life?
I feel like I have a proud moment, then I move on, and a proud moment, then I move on. I mean, the proudest moment that I've made for myself was when really, I think, breaking the 10-year mark in New York City, knowing that I wasn't starving. You know, I had come to New York with an intention, and through struggles and through wins, stayed on that intention and didn't just survive, but thrived in an industry and in an industry in a city that people said were tough to do, tough to stay on, etc. You know, proudest moment for me was the success in thriving and doing this.
The living person that you admire the most?
I think Rodney Cutler, I admire a lot. You know,
me too.
He's a tangible celebrity hairstylist, you know, in many ways. And I was just on the phone with him yesterday, in fact. A humble artist, successful, who gives people his time and his skill set and gives them opportunities that, again, impacted my industry as well, and being able to work at the salon there with him and learn from him and see how he reacts and handles certain things. And those ways that he's done things, business or personal, are things that I've tied into my life as well.
Yeah. Nice to have those people in your life. Something that people don't know about you. I know one thing that was shocked the hell out of me when this was asked to you one other time, but.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
No.
What was the question again?
It is something that people don't know about you.
You know, I'm kind of introverted. I like my quiet time. I don't mind being alone. You know, as much as I love teaching and being exposed and giving and sharing, I like driving long distances without any radio on or listening to anything. I like my quiet, you know, and I love the camping and outdoors and hiking and doing nature stuff. You know, that solitude I enjoy. And I feel like a lot of people don't think that because of all the things that I do. They're like, no, you must love being in the limelight, traveling, doing. And I'm like, I do, but I really love not seeing you.
Yeah. I have to set up my side. I'm right now. I'm going. Should I tell it? Should I tell it? Should I not? And I remember we were doing a show somewhere, or a training somewhere, and I believe it was Blair Singer that came in, or some other person. I can't remember who it was exactly. And we had all of our artists that were there taking that training, and they said you had to start off. You had to go around the room and introduce yourself and tell everybody something that they didn't know about you. And you and I were sitting across from one another, and I said. And I stood up and I said, I can turn my feet backwards. And there was a mild applause in the room, and everybody went, oh, that's interesting. I'd like to see that. And then you stood up and you said, I used to be an underwear model. And and the hoots and the hollers that came out of the room.
just to be correct in this, I wasn't just an underwear model. I was an underoos model.
Oh.
So these underwear, in case you didn't remember, had themes to it. They weren't just white.
Yeah.
They had themes to it. And I crushed those themes, let me tell you.
I'm sure you did.
But yeah, the underwear model.
I have still some of them right here if you want to.
Well, I'm so glad that in all the years that I've known you and we've talked, that's something that you remember, that's stuck in your mind.
Well, you did shock the hell out of all of us on that one. And I don't think nobody beat that one. Things about you didn't know about. Okay, month off. Where would you go? What would you do?
I would go to. Do you want to know which month, or if I had a month off?
Any month.
I would travel.
I would travel.
I'd first start in Europe.
Yeah.
I'd start in Italy, and I'd work my way toward Australia.
Nice.
And see friends and family and eat and enjoy the different cultures, and maybe even still do hair there. But,
there you go.
But
concept.
But that would be it. I just can't say enough of how much I love travel.
Yeah. Your greatest fear?
My greatest fear. Can I come back to that one?
Sure.
Okay.
What's your favorite comfort food?
Favorite comfort
food?
Fruit? Food?
Food. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, I love pizza.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, bread, pasta, cheese. It could be in the shape of a pizza. It could be the shape of I don't care. But that.
Favorite curse word?
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
definitely.
This is the that goes along with it, or
yeah, definitely.
Casual.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
That's a good one. If I could change one element of myself, what would it be? Maybe 3 more inches of height.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
No, I'm on the other end where it's shrinking, so it's not going that way.
You want right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, no, I was thinking the other way, but thank you for everybody watching. Yes.
Keeping the perspective.
Yes. Whether you're laying down or standing up.
Right.
And so now listen, before I ask you this last one, if people want to get a hold of you and they want to know how do I take a class at Tearsheet, where should they go?
They can go to the website, yourtearsheets.com. You can go through our Instagram, the bio. I have the bio in both Tearsheets Instagram and my own. My personal website, I am rebuilding to be more up to special event bridal. So I'd say for the time being, you can go right through the Tearsheet Instagram bio.
That's awesome. Okay. Last question. If you had one wish for our industry, what would it be?
The understanding that in all successes, in any successful thing, there is failure and there is challenges. That's why it's successful. If it was so easy, everybody would be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
This industry, as fantastic and lovely and supportive as it is, we need education. We need the understanding that you need to invest in yourself to become better. I don't want the complacency to happen in our industry. That's a fear of mine, is that people are getting complacent, settling on what I know is what I know, and I'm happy with it. I think there's so much more, but I don't want to see education go away in our industry. I want the understanding to also be that there is going to be a challenge in the industry, on working your way up. There's going to be things to learn, things to do, challenges, etc., and not to shy away from it.
Yeah. And just being comfortable with discomfort. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Giovanni, it was, it's interesting. In that last one, you not only gave us that, but you gave us your fear as well. So
I did. I threw that in there.
Yeah. So, Giovanni, as always, I think you and I have a real special link in our industry and as friends. And I just want to say that it's just really great to catch up with you again. And I can't thank you enough for being on Headcases.
Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate our friendship. And I hope to be able to do this in person real soon.
I hope so too. Nothing would please me more.
Thank you.
Cheers, bud.
Thank you, my friend.